In the story of progress, every chapter of development adds depth, richness, and meaning to our collective narrative. From the smallest steps to the grandest strides, every act of development paves the way for a brighter tomorrow. Welcome to another episode of the Development Report with IFY ONYEKWERE. And today we're going to be discussing community-led initiatives for climate action. We have in the studio with us the communications officer from Society for Planet and Prosperity, Ugochukwu Uzuebu, and he's going to be discussing this topic with us. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll start the conversation. In a world where challenges persist, we seek solutions for a sustainable tomorrow. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, guides our path towards climate action to social justice as we build resilient communities. From embracing circular economies, to reducing carbon footprint, to promoting eco-innovation, to empowering marginalized communities and ensuring inclusive governance and human rights. Through integrated approaches, we are fostering transformative change. I am IFY ONYEKWERE. Join me on the Development Report as we explore the intersection of sustainability on Universal Television Africa towards sustainable development. Welcome back. This is still the Development Report with IFY ONYEKWERE, and this is towards sustainable development. We're looking at the topic today, community-led initiatives for climate action, and we have Ugochukwu in the studio with us. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Looking at climate change, climate action, there's a lot of things, going about, a lot of discussions about climate change. For us to get to the topic, community-led initiative for climate action, could you just tell us where we are as a country, where we are as a people, looking at climate change? What is it about, and what is the urgency for us to even, get to the point where we have to come together as a community? What is it about climate change?
Sure. Thank you very much for having me once more. Well, climate change is an existential crisis. It's a threat to the whole of mankind. While there might be some unawareness, people don't know much about climate change.
Right.
But it affects us all the same. One analogy I like to draw is when you think of a boat, we're all in a boat.
That's right.
And we have a hole in the boat, and water gets into the boat, so it's leaking. No matter which side I'm on, whether the hole is in my side or your side, if the boat sinks, we all sink. So I believe that we should all come together, put efforts, put hands together to fight this threat. And the thing is that it has multifactorial facet. It affects every aspect of our life. Health, it affects industry, you name it, any housing, development. Climate change just has an impact on every aspect of our life. Food crisis, migration. We have a lot of things to deal with, and the problem is that we're not having that sense of urgency that we should have.
That's it.
Yeah, climate change, it's happening very fast, very rapidly, but we are catching up very slow. Our actions are slow. So I believe that we should do more.
Talking about the rapidness, how things are moving fast, how climate change is actually moving very fast. Could you highlight one of these one of these challenges that we're facing that is as a resultant effect of climate change, so we can know how to direct this climate action when we begin to talk about it? One of the things that is going on in the communities right now, that is as a resultant effect of climate change. Narrow it down so the audience can really understand what
Sure.
exactly what
Sure.
we're talking about.
Well, like I said earlier, climate change is multifaceted. It affects every aspect of our life. But let's take, for example, flooding. A lot of climate deniers use this aspect to ask what's the connection between flooding and climate change. Of course, flooding has been happening before now, but the problem is that climate change exacerbates this issue. So let's look at it this way. The atmosphere is getting very hot, and when it absorbs this moisture, it has to drop the water somewhere. When it drops this water, it's so much that the infrastructure there might not be able to handle this. So let's look at the ways in which flooding happens. We have the fluvial, which river banks overflow. We have the pluvial, where infrastructure, drainages are overpowered. We also have coastal erosions, where strong winds hits coastal areas. So these climate change issues exacerbate the already existing issue of flood. We are not saying that flood is a new thing. It's always been there, but now it's happening more frequently. It's happening more strongly. It's more severe. So
Than it used to
that's
be.
one of
Okay, could you just point out some of these human activities that we actually do, probably unknowingly, but it's actually adding to, the severeness of what's, the effects of what we're saying, talking about flood and every other, effects on the planet. What are these human activities that is making this getting very severe?
Yeah. Well, we all know that, of course, the climate issue is anthropogenic. So the root cause of this climate change is fossil fuel. We are burning too much of it. We've been burning too much of it over the years, and the atmosphere has been heating up to very serious levels. So we need to cut down on emissions.
So now when you say we're actually emitting so much gases to the atmosphere, what actions are we doing to actually do this? What are we doing?
Okay, look at it this way. The fossil, by its nature, is something that's in the ground. There's so much of it in the ground.
That's right.
Now we just go there, we dig it up from the ground and start burning it. Now, do you ask yourself, where does it go? Understand? It doesn't just disappear. The issue of fossil fuel, let's look at an analogy that is very well used. The analogy of Midas. Midas wanted the ability to make anything he touches turn into gold. So he did get that wish and became very rich out of it. But then here's another situation. Midas couldn't eat because he touches his food, it's gold. He touches his daughter, she's gold. So the burning of fossil fuel came with a cost, even though it came with some level of economic prosperity.
Yeah.
We know that Africans, we are not mainly responsible for this issue.
That's right.
The Western culture actually used fossil fuel burning to their advantage to develop their economy. But that doesn't mean that on our part we cannot, we shouldn't take action. Of course, we are still calling on them to take responsibility when it comes to helping victims of the impacts of climate change. Yes, there's the loss and damage fund that has been implemented as of last time, the last COP. So what we're asking for now is accessibility to these funds. Yeah, it's made up one of the calls that SPP, it's one of the things SPP is calling for, the operationalization and accessibility of the loss and damage fund to be able to help communities who have been impacted by this climate crisis to be able to thrive, recover from them.
Amazing. Well, we're still discussing community-led initiative for climate action, and we'll go on the break right now, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the community angle of this.
Welcome to Candid Conversations. This is that show that offers unfiltered glimpse into the real stories of some of today's most impactful leaders. In a world that often celebrates the final products of success, Candid Conversations takes you behind the scenes to uncover the personal struggles, doubts, fears, failures that have shaped the leaders we admire today. In each episode, we sit down with people who have made their mark across different industries: media, politics, entertainment, business, entrepreneurship, and beyond. And we have honest, thought-provoking conversations around their personal and professional journeys. The goal of the show is simple. It is to go beyond the accomplishments and accolades and uncover the raw, emotional stories that rarely make the headlines. My name is Blessing Okebe, your host, and this show is coming to you live from Universal TV Africa. Let's get into these conversations.
Hello, amazing people. My name is Godfrey, Kelechku Godfrey, and you can call me K. I am a banker with over a decade experience with Nigeria's foremost financial institution, a certified financial educator, a young man with an acumen for business and financial intelligence. Let's just say I am the first financial educator you should have met and the last you'll ever need. I am the host of Money Matters with K on Universal TV Africa, where we discuss your money, my money, and the government's money. Without further much ado, let's get the show on the road.
Welcome back. This is the Development Report with IFY ONYEKWERE, and we'll have a guest from Society for Planet and Prosperity. And we've been discussing community-led initiative for climate action. Okay, let's take this to the community aspect. How have we, what brought us to the point at which we have to collectively come together, to tackle some of these actions? Why, are we on any level? Is there, a pressing urgency from any board or, directory that has placed us, in the level at which we have to come together? Oh, there's an NGO here doing something in this community. There's an NGO doing something in this community. What, has brought us to this level? What's the urgency like?
Oh, the urgency is very, very much needed. The idea behind it is that the community makes up the larger society.
That's right.
So it has to be, whatever decision is being taken has to be with the involvement of the community. So community-led action talks about the actions that these communities, the communities in their own capacity,
that's right,
are taking to address climate change. Of course, communities cannot build large infrastructures and all that, but in their own little ways, there are some actions, some steps that they can take to be able to make an impact. So one of the, let's look at it from my perspective now. In my community, there is a lot of erosion sites. So one of the things that one of the innovations we used to tackle this is the planting of bamboo. So yes, when you plant bamboo, it helps kind of reduce the force of the water and all that. So every community have their peculiarities, and
that's right.
And with that peculiarity in mind, they are the only ones to know this is our challenge, this is the makeup of our community, our society, and this is the innovative way we can use to address these challenges. So at SPP, we've been doing a lot to help promote community-led initiatives
for climate action.
Yes, for climate action. In Abuja here, we did a project where we had to clean the Jabi Lake. Plastics are a lot of a threat to. There's a connection between the plastic pollution and climate change. So we've also had to engage with a lot of stakeholders. We are a policy NGO, policy and research NGO. So by engaging stakeholders, we're able to put forth policies that will help in addressing these challenges.
Now you mentioned one of the projects in the Jabi Lake. That's Abuja, Nigeria. How would you say the response of the people? Because if we're going to be penetrating communities, the response actually matters. What would you say the response has been like from people in communities going about doing initiatives to promote climate action? What has the Nigerian response been like?
Well, the Nigerian response, let me put it this way: you will meet antagonists, and there are pessimists as well, people who are happy to join your cause. So from our point of view, when we meet antagonists, we try to make them see the need for action.
So would we say they are antagonizing because they do not know the benefits?
Exactly. Okay. They are antagonizing because they do not have knowledge. Like the Bible says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. So what we try to do is make this knowledge available to them. we bring them over to our side.
And I wanted to tell the audience right now,
Yes.
the implication of rejecting or turning back their backs to organizations, individuals, NGOs, or even CSOs who come to them and they're like, oh, you. Because we've had situations where I've had a conversation with someone and people say, you need to pay me for coming to my community and asking me to join, to do initiatives that will promote climate actions. So what are the implications to this if communities reject, climate action in their community? What are the implications for them as a community?
Well, we do not antagonize them.
That's right.
Yes, but when communities do not are not receptive, it's bad for the community, and it's not just bad for them; it's bad for everybody. Yeah. So we have experienced the scenario you painted, where you try to make an intervention in a community and you encounter some resistance. Yeah, but we are not deterred because we are very bent on making that change and recruiting a lot of champions along with us, especially the youth, because the future belongs to the youth. So we are youth oriented NGO. So that's pretty much that.
Amazing. All right, we've heard from our guests. It's a whole lot when a community rejects an action to promote sustainable development. We're going to go on a break right now, and when we come back, our guest is going to be addressing everyone, what we need to do, all hands on deck, to actually ensure that our communities are safe for everyone. We'll be right back. In a world where challenges persist, we seek solutions for a sustainable tomorrow. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, guides our path towards climate action to social justice as we build resilient communities. From embracing circular economies, to reducing carbon footprint, to promoting eco-innovation, to empowering marginalized communities and ensuring inclusive governance and human rights. Through integrated approaches, we are fostering transformative change. I am IFY ONYEKWERE. Join me on the Development Report as we explore the intersection of sustainability on Universal Television Africa towards sustainable development. Welcome back. This is still the Development Report with IFY ONYEKWERE on Universal Television Africa, and this course is towards sustainable development. We've been discussing community-led initiatives for climate action, and we have our wonderful guest in the studio, Ugochukwu, who has really enlightened us on some of the needs why we need to actually push for a safer environment as a community, because he says he has reiterated the fact that there is urgency in climate action because things are really going so fast. So I would want you to tell us, can communities actually get to the point where they have to call on organizations, experts, by themselves? Because there are some that might not be reachable, right? While NGOs and CSOs might be tilting towards rural, communities, some people in urban centers, might actually be aware, and they might want to get the attention of these people. Can they actually get to a point where we begin to call in for NGOs by themselves? And then tell us the part, at which the government, individuals, the role we need to play individually, both individuals, government, and communities, to ensure that our communities get safer.
Yeah, well, there's no proper action without the involvement of the communities you're trying to make an intervention to. So while you're trying to make that intervention, at SPP, we are such an organization that you have just described. We believe that no meaningful impact can be made without the involvement of the communities. We are very reachable. We believe that communities should have an input, because if they don't have an input, you just walk out there, you say you're going to make an intervention. Let's say you put a solar, you say I'm going to put solar street lights. That might not be what the community needs. The community might have other pressing needs, and you're bringing a solar street light. It won't make any impact. So by engaging the community can actually make an input, make a statement. This is the problems we're having. This is what you can do to help us address these challenges. So that's what we believe in.
So we've gotten to a point because of urgency where communities can, start reaching out to parastatals, NGOs, boards and all like that. Yeah. How would you encourage NGO communities to start, highlighting their challenges? What should they be looking at? What can you see in your communities, that can make you feel like this is not normal? And, how should they, react, in reaching out to NGOs, both yours and some other NGOs who are also involved in activities like this? What should they see in their community that is not right and start acting? You mentioned in your community that, planting of bamboo is something that, you're doing to mitigate an effect of flooding, right?
Yeah.
And so what, deficiencies can communities be seeing in their areas, both rural and the urban centers, that can make them call out? And how prompt should they react to things as this?
Well, there's a lot of actions that they can take. Of course, community-led actions is made up of adaptation and mitigation.
That's right.
Of course, adaptation, if the impact has already occurred.
That's right.
You now look at how you adapt to the situation. But then you don't necessarily have to wait for the impact to occur.
That's right.
Before you start putting up measures to make sure you don't get to the point where you start adapting.
Yeah.
So communities should look out for, reach out to NGOs and tell them these are our needs, these are our challenges. And from that perspective, NGOs can then make an intervention.
That's right. Amazing. So this is actually a call for, for everyone. Now this is, left for us. All hands needs to be on deck. You don't have to wait before the NGOs get there, before the CSOs get there. If you notice that there are deficiencies in your community, you can reach out to stakeholders to actually call their attention, because climate action is the action that we all have to be involved in. Thank you so much, Mr. Ogochukwu. Really great to have you in the studio today.
Thank you for having me.
Also to everyone who is watching, great to have you today on the show. We'll be doing this again sometime, and I want to leave you with this. Sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the future without compromising the need of the present. Do have a great time. Bye.